Welcome, everybody, to today's interview on the importance of leadership development in the field of public procurement. Leadership, for me, it's not just about holding a title or managing a team, right? It's about how do you inspire others? How do you drive that change, really, and making that significant impact, not only within your organization, but beyond, right? So for procurement practitioners, I think developing leadership skills is crucial. Even if you're not directly leading people, the complexities and challenges that are being seen by the modern procurement landscape really requires our professionals to be adaptable, strategic, and influential. So in this interview, we're going to explore why leadership development should be a key component to your career development planning. We're going to take a look at, the impact that strong leadership can have on an organization. And then finally, take a look at ways to develop those essential skills and some techniques. So I'm joined by my distinguished panel, and I appreciate all of you being here for my inaugural video blog today, something new we're trying out. So I have Kate Rotella, I have Lourdes Koss, and I have Latasha Terry joining me today, who are going to share their insights and experience on this vital topic. So welcome, everybody. I appreciate y'all taking some time to be with us today.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, I want to set the stage, for our discussion and kind of hear from each of you. Why do you believe leadership development is important for, specifically our procurement practitioners? Again, even if they're not directly leading people, often people think, well, I'm not leading people, so I'm not a leader. But I don't know if that's necessarily the case. But I'd love to hear, each of your thoughts and opinions. Kate, do you want to?
Yeah, sure. Sure. So I think, importantly, we should identify, right, the difference. So leadership deals with influencing people, right? And management focuses on maintaining systems and processes, right? And administration deals with setting those processes and parameters, right? So leadership is really about influencing people. And I think leadership development for procurement particularly is really crucially important because we are influencing people. We're dealing with people every single day. Even people who are not directly leading teams, right? You need to use your qualities and your skills to lead and influence your suppliers, your internal stakeholders, right? You have to use them to effectively have strategic planning done so that you can make your budget dollars go further and maybe do different investments in your community, right? It's part of your communication skills. So I think, your ability to influence and persuade people is really important, and problem solving and innovation is important in that. And, we all every day use our ethical judgment and our integrity. And collaboration and teamwork is crucially important as a member of a one-person team or a 10-person team. It doesn't matter. So I will let my distinguished colleagues speak also.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. Latasha, any thoughts from you?
Well, Kate hit the nail on the head. We as procurement professionals, we have to be influential leaders. When you're having a charging panel meeting, you have to control that room and influence the panel. And you have to collaborate with a bunch of people. Even as a entry-level procurement professional coming into the field, if you're in a room full of upper management leadership and they're not doing what they need to do, you have to make that call and let them know that as a procurement professional, we're not going on with this charging meeting, or I got to remove you from this panel now because you're not doing what we need you to do to uphold the integrity of this procurement process. So it's being able to stand firm in what you know as a procurement professional, uphold your code of laws. I always like to tell leadership, I don't look good in orange, and I mean that. And so, you have to be an ethical leader in procurement and just make sure that you're doing what you need to do. Also, influencing the people around you. You have to, get them to buy into what you're saying. That's huge. And being able to communicate those rules to your end users about the procurement process. And so you need effective communication and just being able to collaborate with everyone and being a strategic thinker.
Yeah, collaboration is key in today's space, right? Especially with what you guys do, right? Collaboration. It's not done in a silo. So appreciate that. Lourdes.
Well, Todd, that leadership is, I keep harping on leadership and how
Right.
important it is. Strong leaders, like my colleague said, they influence others. They drive change. In order to drive change, you need to influence others. And it's driving change within the organization that has an impact beyond the organization. It enhances negotiation tactics, because when you are able to collaborate, when you're able to influence others, now your negotiations are going to be more effective. You improve supplier relationships and make those strategic decisions that will benefit the entire procurement process. Leadership qualities like strategic thinking, effective communication, problem solving are essential for navigating complex procurement environments, managing the stakeholder expectations, driving initiatives that contribute to the organizational success. This is all it's all founded on your ability to lead others, to influence others, and to cause them to act in a way that is going to be for the greater good, right? So yeah, I could keep on.
Yeah. I mean, definitely seeing the importance, and we all talk about change, right? Change is constant in our space and in the world, and it only seems to be increasing. So continuing to sharpen and build those leadership skills is a continuous effort, right? It's not just well, I attended that session or that course and I'm done, right? It's an ongoing piece. So we're really trying to emphasize that it should be a part of career development, ongoing professional development. So Kate, just kind of pulling that back a little bit more. I know you gave some examples of, the impact, but I want to look at the organizational impact. And, Kate, I'm curious from your perspective, how have you seen, having strong leadership skills in place? How can that benefit either the full organization and or the department? And on the flip side too, if you've if you've experienced some not so great leadership and the impact that can have, any examples or thoughts?
Yes, certainly, Todd. Thanks. So I think, first of all, strong leadership, right, can be a catalyst for the organization for success, for your department for success. You're kind of driving performance. You're engaging with people, you're thinking about innovation, which is really, really important for us in procurement. There's constant innovation in technology and in new ways of doing things and procuring things. The supply chain has a lot of innovation in it since right now that we're post-COVID. You are also thinking about the culture you're in and the culture you're creating, your customer satisfaction, both internal and external. Like, I can't say enough about the internal customer satisfaction, right? So we think about our departments as our customers. And by exemplifying kind of integrity and fostering development as a leader, you're steering your organization, but also your department in the direction with a clear vision, right? You creating an environment where people want to learn, want to change, they want to thrive, create that sustainable supply chain. And maybe that's through sparking local business, because now that's an investment in your local community, right? That's creating jobs, but it's returning dollars to the taxpayers through these programs. So it's really important to be able to talk about those programs and why you want to do those things. And I think it's important to understand, we've all three of us have talked about kind of the influence you have as a leader. And so talk about what you can do to increase your influence as a leader, right? By modeling integrity. And we've talked about like that connection to people, really seek to understand what people are trying to do. That's one of our biggest roles in procurement is, to understand the project or to understand where this person wants to go and give them a path to get there. Maybe they can't get there right now. Maybe it's not this budget year. Maybe it's next budget year. But to develop that strategic path for them to get there, I think is really important. Also, nurturing people by nurturing your staff or nurturing others around you to create an environment for lifelong learning will only benefit the organization you're serving, right? To have people that are educated and more familiar with what is going on, right? And I think too, if you show faith in people and you walk with them on their journey, that empowers them and they become better employees, they become more satisfied, which creates, right, a better environment in the agency that you're serving. And you also serve as a role, right? So I think as a leader in your job, in your environment, you're a role model for people. So to your second half of your question about have I seen it go wrong? I think we've all seen leaders who haven't been good, right? We've all served in those. If we haven't, good for you. God bless you. That's wonderful. But I think we've all served with leaders who have not been great. And, you don't feel very good about yourself, right? You don't feel good about your team. You don't want to go the extra mile. You don't want to do other things. So it's unfortunate. I think and it really affects the whole agency, not just one area. Because you will have kind of that snowball effect down. And I think it's unfortunate, right? And so through constant lifelong learning and through nurturing and seeking to understand people, I think we can all be better leaders. And I think everyone can be a good leader, but we all come about it at different ways.
Yeah, I think those are really good points, seeking to understand, being that role model, and really taking the time to listen and, be empathetic, care for people, right? We've all had, challenging environments, challenging bosses. Hopefully you learn from those and go different ways and stuff. So great points. And, I think you constantly are mentioning that lifelong learning and the importance of that. And you're not only setting that example for your staff, which I think is great. That's close to my heart. When you hear today's employees, that's what they're looking for. They want an environment, a solid culture that's built around a lot of those pieces that you mentioned. But
yeah, and to that point, Todd, like we can't all agree all the time, right? So I think it's really important when you're collaborating to challenge your status quos, but also to talk with the naysayers, like we call them the naysayers, right? And get them involved, get them on board. So create a safe space for people to talk and discuss challenging and conflicting points of view. I think that's really important because we've all had those challenges and trying to get through those is important.
Yeah, great points. So you talk about, trying to develop or wanting to develop. I want to kind of stay with you, Kate, and bring in Lourdes too. But, as I work with our professionals, through the concierge program, I spend a lot of time talking to members, helping them with their career development. But I'm still seeing a big focus on, I'll say, the development of the technical skills, which I think is important, right? Everybody needs to know the technical components of how to do their work. But what I'm trying to do at NIGP is we're trying to develop, I'll say, the whole person, right? And that's, trying to recommend, not only developing the technical side of the house, but really bringing in those essential skills. One of those being leadership, right? So you got to have both sides of the house. So what are your thoughts on this approach? Any advice, again, can you give somebody that's developing their career plans, specific activities, again, developing that whole self of the importance of it? Lourdes?
So Um, this is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. And the developing leadership skills, we're all leaders in one way or another, right? Especially if you're a procurement professional, you are leading teams, you are leading yourself, if no one else, right? And you're leading procurement initiatives. So the ability to continue to learn not only the technical skills, but the ability to apply those skills with the people that you relate is essential, because you can have all this knowledge and not be able to communicate well with people. And this is where, or some people kind of turn you off, right? Because they're not like you. And this is where your emotional intelligence comes in, to be able to relate to them, to know when to take a minute, and breathe, and so that you can act in a more logical and more conscientious way. So whether it's reading books, whether it's taking courses, whether it's just being in groups like being in groups like the masterminds, where you get to discuss, because what happens is the technical training is more about what to do, right? Is it more a horizontal type of learning? And when you talk about leadership, and some people kind of shy away from it, it's touchy feeling, right? But it's really about that vertical growth that allows you to then use that technical information and apply it in the different situation, and problem solve and plan strategically, be able to see beyond what others see, and not just be focused on what's on that task in front of you. It's like, where does that task go to? Why do I have to perform this? What are the benefits? What are some of the challenges ahead? And so it gives you a broader perspective of your role, and it allows you to then use those skills in a way that become more effective. And now, because you have the skills, and now you know how to, you can see more than others can see, you can plan ahead, you can advise others. Now you have the opportunity for that seat at the table.
Yeah.
Because how many people are there that know their stuff, they know their procurement, but don't have a seat at the table? Why? Because they don't have that other element
Yeah, and
that
it's
allows you to do that.
right, and it's the seat at the table that I continually hear, that we want to elevate and continue to elevate the profession and individuals to that seat at the table. And you bring out that self self leadership. You are, whether we're leading people, we're all leading ourselves in our careers. You're responsible for that development. I think that's important, and that's where I think the emotional intelligence piece, if people haven't considered or really dug into the emotional intelligence side, I think that's an important space that people should consider a bit as part of their career development. I know there's assessments and different ways to take a look at that, but I have found that to be valuable personally. But Kate, any perspective?
Yeah, I agree with everything Lourdes said, and I would, just to build on that, right? So one of the key things that I would say is develop resilience. Okay, stay positive, maintain a positive attitude, even in the face of, right, setbacks, right? You've got to be adaptable, flexible. You've got to be open to change, right? Because sometimes you can learn a better way once you get going down the road, right? And you need to be ready to pivot at any time. I think, one of the things that's important in that resilience piece of leadership is to understand that changes or pivoting these aren't These aren't bad things necessarily. These are lessons. These are how we learn. These are how, and you have to develop a culture where your team is comfortable knowing that they can bring their mistakes to you or whatever it is, and that those aren't bad. Those show us how to learn and grow and do it better next time, right? Have an open mind with things. I think you have to embrace, we've said this over and over, but embrace lifelong learning, right? Stay curious. Join professional groups like NIGP, training, do different training, get a mentor. I think, you absolutely talk to seasoned leaders that right? Hey, I'd like to hear from you on how you did this, or this. I think those are really important things in networking. The emotional intelligence piece is really important. That creates kind of that self-awareness and understanding your strengths and weaknesses. We all have them, and it's important to understand where they are and what they are so that we know how to better manage those things. Strong communication skills, really, really important. Active listening, practice listening to understand, not to respond. That's a different way of listening, right? Sometimes the way we're giving our message is different for different groups of people that we're talking to. And when I say different groups of people, I mean the engineering team versus, right, the public works team. It may be different, or the rec and park team, or whatever it is, right? So understanding your audience and who you're talking to. Again, right? That resilience piece, because you're going to get resistance from people, and you just have to kind of focus on on building that relationship with them and staying positive. Sometimes it's hard to stay positive, right? We've all had those days where we go home and we're like hitting our head against the wall. But that's when you pick up the phone and you call your mentor, you call somebody that you've met at an NIGP forum or wherever, and you say, hey, guess what happened to me today? And you just talk about that, right, with somebody. Personal growth, just your own personal growth. And maybe that's through management programs, maybe it's through leadership programs. It could be through anything. There's many different ways to do that, right? But I think also once you are a leader, and you have to continue that journey. Just because you're in the leadership role doesn't mean you stop. You have to continue your personal development. You have to continue thinking about your mentorship opportunities, right? They may change, but you've got to think about those things. And I think you have to promote a positive outcome to everybody. And be flexible. We have to be flexible. If we've learned anything from COVID, it's to be flexible.
That's for sure, right?
We work better together than apart from one another.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, like you're saying, resiliency, psychological safety, an environment that's safe is all important. And I did just get my 10-minute notice on my little clock there from Zoom, which I haven't seen before. So I want to kind of bring this to a close. But Latasha, I really want to spend just a couple minutes just hearing from you, right? Time is tight, budgets are tight, but how do you invest, your time and resources to develop professionally, from a leadership perspective? You have a busy schedule. How do you fit that in? Any advice for people?
Definitely take advantage of NIGP. You offer free webinars. So when I have opportunity to attend a free webinar, I'll go there, especially if it's something that is leadership related. I threw my name in the hat and was selected to be part of the NIGP leadership program. So that was a great way to develop my leadership abilities. Lourdes did a wonderful job. We took the assessments and learn more about us. And, so now I have a deeper understanding of things that I need to work on to develop further as leadership. And then I know the skill sets that I excel in. Speaking with other procurement professionals, mentorship is huge. So, when I have issues or encounter problems at work, I reach out to my colleagues and get their advice on how to handle situations to further develop my leadership skills. And I'm always doing like a self-analysis of situations and things and just reflecting on ways that I could have improved that situation better. Attending conferences, NIGP forum, those are great ways to see some fabulous keynote speakers that will put words of wisdom in you that will carry you on another year. I always look at the NIGP conference as a refresher. I go there, I get refreshed, I can carry on the torch another year in
Yeah.
procurement.
Yeah.
So those are things that I do to continue to further develop my leadership skills.
That's great. I mean, it sounds again that you're continuously evolving, continuously learning, which, like Kate and Florida said, is great, and things like that. Well, I think kind of in closing, you know, if you could say in 2 or 3 words, you know, what advice would you give, let's say, Latasha, to aspiring leaders? What advice would you give them?
I would tell an aspiring leader to go and sit down with their supervisor and let their supervisor know where they want to go in their career.
Yeah.
And so that way their supervisor can provide them open and honest feedback to help develop them. Because it's one thing to have an employee who's working with you and they don't express any desire to grow. So your feedback for them is going to be different. But if I have an employee who has expressed to me that they are wanting to go to that next level, that they want to sit in that director seat, then my feedback is going to be a little bit different for them on how to carry themselves in the office and meetings and things of that nature. So just having that open and honest communication with your boss.
That's great. Lourdes, Kate, anything for our senior leaders? Anything?
I do have, you know, you touch on budgets are tight, times is tight, but where there's a will, there's a way. If you want to find the time and the resources, you will. I mean, think about the time that you spend on social media, the time that you spend just dilly-dally. You know, there's when you add up all that time, you can at least identify a couple of hours. And when you think about the things that you spend your money on, even if, you know, like let's say the agency doesn't support or fully support, you can, you know, between the Starbucks, between the, you know, you can identify where you're putting your resources, and it's that is it where you're putting your resources where supporting your goals.
Yep.
And so, or your highest goals. So just something to think about, right? To reflect on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kate, any?
Yeah, so I would just say, you know, just remember, like, when strong leadership is in place, it has a positive impact on an organization or a department. And it really touches every aspect of the operation and the culture and environment that you're in. You know, embrace lifelong learning, stay curious, continuously seek different educational opportunities and training and self-reflection, learn from others, find mentors. Absolutely talk with your supervisor, create a plan of action for you to grow, and how you can develop that growth through education, and absolutely network with experienced seasoned leaders.
Yeah, I love the stay curious, and that's where I'd like to, you know, and everybody stay curious. I thank all of you guys for the insightful contribution. You know, I think we all agree leadership is a continuous journey that really not only benefits the individual practitioner, but also the organization and really the wider public procurement community. So I appreciate you all giving this a shot at the first time. I think it went really well. I appreciate all the great insight, and we'll have you back shortly. Thanks again.
Thank you, Todd.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.